In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 reasons my photos went from bad to good. Okay, these are always funny videos to make because you look back and you cringe at the horrible things that you charged for or got paid for. And you're like, who, why, when, that's not, Anyways, it's good to take a note of where you are today so that you can look back and see how far you've come. So don't be embarrassed if you make the same mistakes that I have, because we all have to start somewhere. If you don't know, I'm Rachel B. Hughes, and I help creative entrepreneurs launch their side hustle so they can have the life and business that they love. Be sure to check out the Creative Side Hustler's Guide to book more clients so you can leave your 9 to 5. Okay, the first glaring reason that my photos went from bad to good was a lack of editing style. I'm going to show you a couple of these, and boy, oh boy, did I have no sense of color or editing at all. Like there is nothing going on here. I feel like I just probably clicked auto on Lightroom and then exported and was like, yeah, that looks clean. No, who does that? Not a professional photographer, so don't do that. Not having an editing style really does not make your photography stand out. It just makes you very bland, and it's just very unappealing. It's not good, which mixed with all the other reasons why the photos are bad, it's just like you shouldn't be paid for this. With time, your editing style will become more clear to you as you buy different presets and as you play around with different settings. And so do not fear, you will get better. You will develop an editing style that you feel is right for you and your clients, and that you will eventually be happy with. And so don't fear. Also, I have Lightroom presets available for sale, so be sure to check those out. The second reason my photos went from bad to good was not knowing how to pose. When you don't know how to pose, people, you just waste time because you're standing there like, how do I position you guys? 2, you don't look like a professional. And 3, the photos don't come out good. So you should have some go-to poses in mind for kind of different sets of amount of people. I feel like the most common one is a couple. And so if you have a handful, I would say literally a handful, just 5 go-to poses for a couple to do. You can check out this video on how to pose for a graduation shoot. That will help you have a couple poses in mind and just have them able to rattle off in your head, like, hey, now give me the drunk walk where you're bumping into each other. Again, rather than wasting time being like, do you have any poses in mind? Don't ask them that. And knowing how to pose multiple people. So for example, this was a lot of people, and not knowing how to pose them, it just is uncomfortable because you're like, you're too tall, you're too, you're not wearing the right color. It just is not good when you don't know how to pose people, specifically for family portraits. It's not good. Which leads into the third reason that my photos went from bad to good was a lack of efficiency with time. Again, posing, knowing, having a list that you just go to every single time will really save you time. Right now, I have shoots that are 30 minutes, and that's plenty of time to get a lot of good photos if you are efficient with your time. Also, with efficiency, editing speed is something that has to be talked about. The more beginner you are, the more overwhelming it'll feel when you drag in 500 or 1,000 raw photos because you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to take me hours to edit. And so be sure to check out my editing process series because that'll walk you through ways to make it faster and just to ease the overwhelm. Another point with efficiency with time, and the reason why that's a bad thing, is not knowing how much sunlight or daylight that you have to work with. And so you're just kind of willy-nilly going around without having a plan in mind, which leads to point number 4. So with efficiency with time, it really also comes down to not knowing how you're working with the lighting. And so if you book a 30-minute session, that's not a lot of time, but it is a lot of time if you're smart with it. And specifically around sunset, I mean, the sun is moving down quick. You need to know where you want your subject to stand and where the light should be, which leads to reason number 4. My photos went from bad to good was lack of detail. I think this goes into not understanding the locations, the lighting position, and details. When I talk about details, I'm talking about, extra people walking in the background. If you just, hey, let's wait for a second while these people walk by, that's totally okay to do, because the shot will be better with the people out of it than if you're just like, hey, let's just keep going. Let's go. Because then you might have to edit them out after, which is more of your time having to be spent editing it. So just look out for those details, or like graffiti on the wall that you might not want to show if you can just position them in a different way so that you can not capture that. Just looking out for the little details, or like hair ties on girls' wristbands, stuff like that, to point out beforehand before a shoot gets started will really help your client feel more happy that you're even looking out for the details for them, and it will result in a better final product for you. With location scouting, I think it's really important for you to have a couple go-to locations so that when a new client hits you up, you say, hey, here are my go-to spots, and this is the type of photos that you could be getting from this setting. I have a go-to spot that really allows for 4 different settings to be captured. It's really a gold mine of South OC, because you can get eucalyptus shots, you can get cool cliff shots, beach shots, and cliff shots in that. Did I already say cliff? Yeah, you can just get a lot of variety. And so understanding locations beforehand and the types of settings that you can have your subjects in will allow you to be more confident in knowing how to pose them, knowing what lighting challenges you have to work with, and just overall make the shoot more efficient. The final reason my photos went from bad to good was not knowing my settings. So again, I was a very beginner newbie and just went out to try to make money doing this thing of photography and video. The more that I continued to do photo shoots, the better I got. But you can do a quick YouTube search beforehand to just know settings that you should always have your camera on. Like, for example, I'll show you some of these photos. The kid was moving, and so it's really important to have a high shutter speed when there's people, because there's natural movement that you actually want them to do, but you don't want to get that blur. You want to get the movement captured in a clear way. So having your settings be really good, and don't be afraid to say, okay, hold on one sec, let me just make sure we got the shot, and look down your camera, scrub through a few of them and see, are they in focus? Is my shutter speed enough? Is my ISO enough? Am I moving closer to them and moving farther from them to get a variety of shots? Nailing your settings is super important to get really good quality photos. So those are the 5 reasons that my photos went from bad to good, and I hope you can learn from my mistakes and not make them for yourself. Let me know which one was the most helpful or the one that you related to most in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.